Now let's start the yapping. Let's start the yapathon. Okay, I'm interested in this article right here. These are the banned cards. Basically, every card in Sanctum Sanctorum that's end of game has an end of game effect is banned. I wonder why they did that. I mean, the game ends. It just ends in a different way. I don't understand why end of game effects were considered bad, if I'm being honest. Does anyone know? The game's gonna end no matter, like, it's gonna end. It's gonna be like, oh, this guy went over the points, game ends, end of game effects activate. Probably because of bad coding. Oh yeah. On the last two votes, there is no sound from the game. Lovely. It's after War Thunder. Hey, I guess I should add a new audio source that's muted. Hey, thanks for that. Why would you want points at the end of the game though? Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, because it doesn't matter, right? The game ended with the actions that happened before the game ended. Because of the actions that happened before the game ended. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they're worthless, basically. That's why they banned them. I mean, they could have just not banned them and people would have realized that, oh, end of game effects are worthless. So they banned them because people like me are idiots and would use end of game effects even though the game ended and nothing can change the fact that the game ended. They could have just not banned them because they literally do nothing. Aquaman needs to have a Spider-Man that does something else. Aquaman needs a useful Spider-Man, not a useless one, huh? Okay, so end of game effects are basically useless, and then they banned some mill cards, and they just banned the only mill cards that mill doesn't not mill, sorry, the only clock cards that clock actually doesn't use. Debris is used, but not that much. There are a lot of non-debris clock decks, and then Ani is not used at all. The Green Goblin is used. Hobgoblin isn't used. So yeah, Viper is used a lot, so that's pretty good. So basically, Viper and Green Goblin are the ones that are gonna make playing Clog impossible. If you don't have those two cards, you're in deep shit. You can't really play Clog. And Debris to some extent. And then all the endgame effects have been removed. Extra turns don't matter. This is an end of game effect that doesn't matter. This has an end of game effect that, well, if this card was playable, she would just be a 1/5. So I understand why they banned her. This is end of game effect, so it doesn't matter. Quake, probably some kind of coding problem. You can use Ani with Yellow Jacket. Just because you can do something doesn't mean it's good. My point was that it was not a good, it's not being used in Clog at all. It's useless. So Clog currently does not use this card and hasn't used it for a long time. Quake would be OP. Probably, yeah. Because you can swap the location and win the other location. This is an end of game effect. This one makes sense because you can build a deck that guarantees you gain the points every time you they move to that location. So doesn't want us to play any kind of clock strategy. However, I believe they have forgotten a few cards if they really wanted to tone down our ability to limit our opponent's freedom of play. I think this deck is going to be outrageous. This deck is going to be insane. First of all, Sam Wilson is going to be in every card. Mill was not touched at all for this event. It all depends on Mill. Everything depends on Mill on the event. Maybe their testing showed that the games are short enough that you don't need to do anything to Mill. So if the average game ends on turn 5, then Mill is completely and utterly useless. If the average game ends of turn 6, then Mill is about the same as it is now, which is B tier deck. But if the average game ends on turn 7, then Mill is S tier. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. Arishem though, exactly. If Mill is S tier, then Arishem is S tier. And then there's nothing in between. There's literally nothing in between. You either play the S tier deck or the counter to the S tier deck, and you're fucked. I told them about it. I warned them 3 weeks ago. I told them, I don't have the information. I didn't do the math. I'm not going to sit down and fix your mode. I'm just telling you that this thing exists. And if your average game ends on turn 7 plus, it's going to be S tier. Yeah, Sam Wilson is going to be outrageous in that mode. And so is this deck right here. All these screen decks are going to be insane. You get to control your opponent's points. You get to move their points around. You get to do so many fucking things to them. Wilson, shield should be 0 point. I don't know. I don't think they're gonna nerf Wilson tomorrow. So yeah, this is my clog isn't the only deck that is aimed at limiting the opponent's ability to play their deck as intended. This opens up the list of decks that I believe have a solid shot in doing great in Sanctum Showdown, to include the disruptive archetypes with no banned cards. Yeah, this deck is gonna be crazy good, and every deck is gonna run Sam Wilson. If you didn't pay and you don't have Sam Wilson, then you're kind of fucked. Secondly, I recommended that we give more cards a try in this mode, and I second the idea. If only there wasn't an archetype that would butcher you. One that features a similar kind of flexibility when it comes to positioning its cards. I don't think you run Beast in this deck, but okay. Why would you run Beast in a mode like Sanctum? Removing power from your lane is so bad. So bad. I don't know why you would want to run a Beast, and I don't know why you would want to run Hood in this mode. This deck needs to be adjusted for the mode, because giving up a point for your opponent is horrible. Maybe even 2, maybe even 3. I don't think this is the list, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. This is not the list for sure. Like, Beast and Hood are not going to be included in a Sanctum. If you're going to adjust the list for Sanctum, then you definitely don't want to run Hood, because that's a point for your opponent. You're giving a point to your opponent, right? Where does it have the rules somewhere, or what we know of the rules? A lot of Sanctum matches you already know, so why the hell do we need strategy guide? Let's just play the usual decks, master. I wish it was that simple. Event period rules. You earn points each turn from the locations you're winning. Each location is worth 1 point, except the one marked as the Sanctum, which gets bonus points. Every turn, the Sanctum moves, so you have to decide which locations to prioritize. Starting on turn 3, you can snap to add an additional bonus point to the Sanctum location. The first player to reach 16 points, there can be a maximum of 15 turns. So, bro, my chat is very well educated, which I expected. Only people with high level degrees and extremely high IQ would watch my stream. I knew that already. It's just being confirmed right now in chat. Roles and charms. So we're just gonna go over Sanctum real fast. We're gonna go over Sanctum real fast. What we know at least. Scrolls and charms, rewards. Each game costs a scroll to play, similar to a conquest ticket. You learn 2 more scrolls every 8 hours and more in other ways. I hope there's no maximum of scrolls, so you can come in and grind. You'll also get your ticket back whenever you win a game. Win or lose, you'll walk away from every game with points, charms to spend on the Sanctum shop. A full list of rewards has been shown. There's these 3 cards. When this card is destroyed, replace it with Spider-Man. This card sucks. Ongoing, your opponent's cards that didn't start in their deck cost 1 more. Ooh. So you just Gorgon. Gorgon's interesting. 2/3 also. Kind of shits on Arishem. And at the same time, You can use it in like a Ronan deck, just give them cards. Laufey, steal 1 power from each other card here. This one's a bit expensive, but it also steals from your cards. So it can be good in an Ajax deck, I think. A little bit too expensive though. Like definitely you want to run your Man Thing over Laufey. So I don't know how you're gonna fit this card in that deck. And I feel like our Man Things are gonna be bigger than Laufey every time, right? Anyway, let's move on. Players can redeem the points from rewards, including up to 4 unowned Series 4 or 5 cards for 2,250 points. And there's a frequently asked questions that's been released. What do I use charms for? You use them to buy stuff from the shop. How do I get more scrolls? Well, if you keep winning, you'll never run out. But in addition to the free scrolls you receive from the first day, on the first day, and from sorcerer ranks, you get 2 more scrolls every 8 hours. You can also spend 40 gold to buy a scroll if you don't want to wait. This is the definition of microtransactions. A little bit of gold, you buy a scroll. It's a microtransaction right there. What is an unowned Series 4-5 mystery card? The unowned Series 4-5 mystery cards contain one of the eligible unowned base cards from Series 4 and 5. Someone's gonna theory craft and say like whether it's worth it to keep buying scrolls, whether it's cheaper to get the unowned card from scrolls than to just straight up buy it. All eligible cards are equally weighted. For example, if you have 5 eligible cards, each card's 20% chance of appearing upon purchase. Unowned base cards are eligible even if you own a variant of that card. Yeah, okay, we know that much. We've always known that. What if I own all Series 4-5 cards? Then you won't be able to use that. How many rewards should I expect to earn? Players that use all their available free scrolls and maintain a 50% win rate should be able to acquire enough charms to purchase 2 portal pools or other items of equal value. That doesn't sound very exciting. Can I use gold to purchase more items? Yes, you can buy all the items in the shop for gold, charms, or a mix of the two. Of course you can. Are any of the items in the Sanctum shop exclusive to the event? The new cards will be available in the token shop starting on March 13. The new modes will be added to the cosmetic shop in the June season. June season? That's a long way. The new variants will be available in future runs of Sanctum Showdown and available in the Vault February 2026. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Okay. This is Sanctum. Now back to the strategy part. I think this is going to be one of the best decks no matter what. This Scream decks, it's already at the top of the meta right now, so it's just going to get better in a game where all the points matter on every location, right? And then this is dependent on how the mode plays out. Mill just depends on how the mode plays out. If the mode is on average 7 turns plus, Mill is going to be goated. It's going to be the best deck in the game. And it's not even a discussion. It's not even a question of but Harry this, but Harry. No. It's very simple. In a game with limited resources and limited turns, the person with the most resources is going to win every time, right? And cards are resources. So if I take away all your resources, then how are you going to win, right? If you don't win by the time, I put a clock on my opponent. If they don't win by the time they run out of resources, they are done for. Obviously, there's a very easy counter to this deck. In Arishem, Thanos, or Thanos Arishem, whatever you want to do it, whatever you want to call it. It's not like, everyone has to play Mill. That's not the issue. The issue is that this is all in theory, right? Let's clear that out. Let's clear that out. This is all theory crafting. We don't know how many turns on average the game is going to be. But if it turns out that the optimal way to play the game is milling your opponent, then there's going to be only 2 decks on ladder. It's going to be mill and anti-mill. That's it. No uncle mill, no cousin mill, no nothing. Just mill and anti-mill. Yeah, what's up, Crazy? There's another card called Loki. Oh, Loki refills your deck. Huh? That's pretty cool, actually. That's pretty cool. That's actually thinking outside the box. I didn't even think about that. Would consider a good rank. Anything in the top 5,000. Managed to hit top 5,000 at 2.8k collection level. Wait, that's so good. Really good. Good job. Easy clap. That's good actually. That's actually good. It's hard to compete in infinite with low collection level. You think Agamotto could potentially shake up the meta? That's an interesting card, but that's for next week. So yeah, that's the issue I'm having. Oh, this is all theory craft. Hopefully, my Cassandra predictions don't come to fruition. I hope they don't. Power and energy. Oh, that's it. That's all the decks that they have there. Oh, they have down here. So now that I've shown you my top picks to limit your opponent's liberty to play, let's dive a little deeper into the mold. In a sense, you could look at Sanctum as a race to 16 points. The first two turns are a little quieter, but then you can turn the jets on to secure the Sanctum every turn. First, let's look at the math behind reaching 16 points. Okay, this is. I don't want to do this math. So the fastest you can do is turn 4 by winning 2 points during the first 2 rounds. The first 2 turns, isn't that impossible? Then 14, 6 plus 8, or 7, 7 on the following 2. Doesn't this mean that your opponent needs to be literally AFK and not play a single card? To achieve this, you need your opponent to snap on the Sanctum's count, or the Sanctum's count won't be high enough. This seems very unreliable to go for. Winning on turn 5 can be done with only your snaps, going 5 plus 5 plus 6. If you snap 2 out of 3 turns between turns 3 and 5, or win another location in addition to the Sanctum, if you win at least 1 point during the first 2 turns, you only require 5 points per turn, which can be done with a single snap or one of the 1-point locations under your control. You could also go 1 plus 1 plus 7 plus 7. Requires double snap and you winning Sanctum. Bro, so basically what I'm reading here is that to win on turn 4, your opponent needs to be AFK. To win on turn 5, your opponent needs to be semi-AFK. And because you need to win Sanctum twice and they need to snap. Well, they need to be kind of AFK and brain dead at the same time, I think. Because why are they snapping if they're not winning the Sanctum for sure? Once you consider games with 6 turns, it becomes quite easy to reach 16 points. You can do it just by winning the Sanctum every turn. Guys, I'm starting to get worried. The Sanctum every turn between 3 and 6 without anyone snapping. From that point, you can even afford to lose the Sanctum for a turn and still win on turn 6 if you still score some points from the other locations. So the average game is going to be 6 turns. That's good. That means if the average game is going to be 6 turns, it means mill is not going to be that good. It's actually going to actively be bad if the average game is 6 turns. Because the best mill has to give up points at the beginning. Right? The best mill deck has to give up points. Or you need to not run Hood. Or you give up on Hood, and you run something else. Like you need tempo for sure. All the decks are going to be tempoing out of their ass in this game. So if this card is going to be unplayable. Unless it's a contested battle where no one is snapping, I expect most games to last somewhere between 5 and 7 turns. Does anyone think that you're just going to snowball your opponents? You might be able to do it on day 1. Right? You might be able to do it on day 1, but on day 2, meta is discovered. Like on day 2, there's going to be a well-shaped meta, and everyone's going to flock to the decks that are winning. So on day 2, things are going to start getting dicey and highly contested. How Martyr will work? It won't. Martyr is banned. Any card that has text end of game is banned. Well, It's banned because it won't work. It literally won't work. Because when the game ends, you've already lost and there's nothing that can happen. Someone went to 16 points, so you've lost. You can't remove points from them at that point. It's done. The win condition is different. So end of game effects don't do anything. So they banned them, which I think is stupid. They could have banned other cards and just leave the end of game effects in. And if you wanna play a useless card, go ahead. If you want to play a card that has no text, be my guest. Outside of Martyr. Martyr is the only one that should have gotten banned because her end of game effect is negative, and her not having an end of game effect text means she's just a 1/5. Winning the first 2 turns will be crucial to set up you up for a win on turn 5, unless you want to snap when your opponent is already in the lead. Plus, winning the early turns likely means you'll have priority, which unlocks plenty of disruptive cards like Cosmo Negasonic Teenage Warhead. This guy loves NTW. The current Marvel Snap is filled with cards that get you off to a hot start, so there should be no problem there. Can you imagine, like, you play all these cards for tempo, you go Quicksilver into, like, in theory, Weaken should be good because it's also a high tempo deck that is built to curve out, right? So, and then Iron Patriot is going to be massive because you play Iron Patriot. Hear me out. Iron Patriot is going to be huge in this mode because you play Iron Patriot on turn 2 when there's no Sanctum location that gives extra points. Let's say you played, let's theory craft a little bit and say that you played your Iron Patriot on the left location, on the right location, right? And then the Sanctum location shows up and it's the left one. So now your opponent needs to choose. Do they contest the Iron Patriot that's already winning the right, or do they go for the Sanctum? Right? You put them in a situation between a rock and a hard place where it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like what I give them so much tempo and power for the next turn if I don't contest the Iron Patriot, but I lose 3 points if I do contest the if I do contest it, right? Just MMM, yeah, but MMM is such a massive tempo loss, and you're playing a tempo-paced game. If you play a 3-power card, so let's say I am playing an Iron Patriot deck, but I'm doing like extremely high tempo, and I'm playing a 3/5 on turn 3, and you're playing a 3/3 on turn 3 in MMM to stop my Iron Patriot. I just don't play on the Iron Patriot location, and then I play on the Sanctum location. I've won the Sanctum location. I've gotten my 3 points. I've secured my 3 points, and I have a card that you are unaware of, which can win me extra points in the future. So Iron Patriot is going to be both Sam Wilson and Iron Patriot, I think, are going to be in every single deck. Both Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson are going to be in every single deck. It seems like their value is immense in this mode. In a mode where tempo is king and power on the board is king, what would you prioritize playing on turn 2, Iron Patriot? Or it's probably Iron Patriot. Rocket Raccoon and Groot seems good in this mode too. Rocket Raccoon and Groot is good in general. They have very, very, very good stats. That is not a card you call bad by any stretch of the imagination. Even if you see your opponent having a shield on board, you wouldn't play Scream. Will Rocket get nerfed like Nocturne? I feel like he's not at the levels Nocturne was. Nocturne was like something like 50% of the decks or something ridiculous, 40% of the decks, something ridiculous like that. It wasn't. No, they're not the same. I think this card is well balanced, just a good card. It's a well balanced good card. Good cards need to exist in card games. Not every good card should get nerfed. Yeah, Nocturne had a ridiculous popularity, is why it got nerfed. And her ridiculous popularity was suffocating and bullying other cards out of the meta, like Magic. Rocket and Groot aren't pulling anything out of the meta. They're just a generally, they're just a good card. Think of them kind of like, what's the other 3/5? Like Copycat before she got nerfed. She's just a good card. That's it. It's like a card you put in your deck if you're trying to do some. Wait, this split is insane, dude. Is this a god split or is this just a? Did she get nerfed so she was always a 3/5? She used to steal the text from your opponent's bottom card. Now she just copies it. Doesn't seem big, but it was enough to reduce your play rate significantly. So yeah, Rocket Raccoon is more akin to her, which is a bad example because she did get nerfed, but yeah. Led by the last 2 season pass cards, this group of 5 is currently quite popular in Marvel Snap, and they do exactly what you want to do in Sanctum Showdown. Points for cheap or energy cheating to get other cards out early is and will be the name of the game. If you decide to pick the proactive road, I expect either the Zabu plus Hydra Bob duo or Quicksilver to be really popular. Iron Patriot and Sam Wilson Captain America could be in every deck. Wait, didn't I just say that before reading that? These cards are already at the helm of most proactive archetypes and are designed to dominate the first few turns of a match. This is perfect for this new Sanctum Showdown mode in order to get the first point and pressure your opponent. Yeah. This deck might make a comeback in Sanctum. Period. This deck might make a comeback in Sanctum. Sanctum Showdown Arishem. I feel like Arishem is not going to be playable unless, and this is a big if. Oh, they're running Quicksilver. Interesting. Oh, they've adapted it to the Sanctum. This is interesting, actually. Unless Mill is dominating, you won't have a reason to run Arishem. It's just too unpredictable. And I also feel like you want Sam Wilson in here. You can't not run Sam Wilson. You need that 1 point on the board. Quicksilver guarantees the Sanctum location turn 1. There's no Sanctum location on the first 2 turns. Sanctum Showdown Ongoing Doom. I feel like this is not a good location. Deck. You know what's good? I was about to say Kazoo. Kazoo is probably very good. Because you always tempo like crazy in Kazoo. And you just use Squirgle, turn 1, you might get like 2 points. And then you have Captain America too. You Squirgle where they have their shield, and that's like a massive lead. And then Killmonger ruins the run, and then I put Kyera in my deck. Then you put Rogue. Then I put Cosmo. Then you put Echo. Then I put Killmonger. I Killmonger your Echo, and then I Cosmo. Hey, let's not do that. That's the stupidest way to think. Sanctum Showdown, small good cards. No. That's a no for me. This is a huge no. I feel like Hood is going to be horrible in this mode. The only way you can play Hood is by destroying it on the same turn, or Killmongering it, or buffing it to have power. There's no other way to play Hood, and he's gonna be a liability in your deck. -1 point, basically. By the time you kill Hood, he's already cost you 2 points. Yeah. In a game mode where tempo is king, in a game mode where everyone's gonna be putting the most points they can on the board as fast as they can and slamming them down, right? Low tempo decks cards are a liability, right? Negative tempo cards are unplayable. Without a doubt. You cannot play Hood. Serper bar in this mode? Probably. What if bar with no name? I think she isn't bar with no name banned from the mode. I think they banned some locations too. Probably bar with no name is banned. Toxic, bounce, and move. This can be good. This deck has decent tempo. It's a different version though. The other version. Bounce. Well, it's you don't like you shouldn't focus too much on the first two turns. Like the first two turns are important, but they're not gonna win you the game. You're gonna win the game by having a lot of tempo on turn 3, 4, and 5, right? But the thing is, what the first two turns do, why the first two turns are important, and what they do for you is that if you have enough tempo, then you're guaranteed priority, and there's a lot of cards that are much better with prior, right? And I feel like Juggernaut is he in the banned list? I think he's in the banned list, isn't he? That's why he's nowhere to be found. Isn't he in the ban list? Yeah, he's in the ban. Okay, Juggernaut would have been broken in this board. Yeah, he's banned. Okay, good that he's banned because he would be broken on turn 3. There's a lot of cards that so Rocket Raccoon is going to be cards that are going to be insane in this mode. Iron Patriot, Captain America, Rocket Raccoon. All three of these cards are going to be in basically every deck. Is Scarlet Witch banned? I'm not sure. These three cards can be in practically every single deck. I kind of like Zoo. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a bounce move expert, but I think bounce move is bad. I think bounce moving is bad simply because you remove points from your board in order to come back stronger. And if you get out tempoed or whatever and you lose Sanctum a couple of times, then you literally cannot use Beast and Toxin or you lose the game on the spot. If you bounce your 8 power Human Torch to bring it back, then you've lost every location that turn. He says that part above. I don't expect bounce to win the Sanctum every turn. However, this archetype is so explosive that you could very well be able to decide when you want to win it and when you don't, which allows you to control the flow of points during the most important turns. The same could be said about bounce move if you like that one more. Guardians of the Galaxy is interesting because you know where they're going to play. Everyone's going to be contesting the very specific locations, so Guardians of the Galaxy can put in work. It's basically that location that forces you to play there on turn 5 every single turn. After turn 3. What happened to the old Agent Venom deck with Mysterio? That could be viable. It's here, but I don't believe in it. They cut Mysterio doesn't make the cut anymore. Because this is no longer buffs it to 4 power. So yeah, this is pretty good. Obicat should be good. I believe these are great foundation for low collection players. I believe Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, and Gamora are the best from the original Guardians of the Galaxy cards, and everyone should have those. As such, if you're missing 1, 2, or 5 cost cards from any deck you saw above, these cards should be great placeholders. So this is a 4/9, which is not great. And this is a 3/7, which is pretty good. Because Rocket Raccoon is essentially a 3/5. Groot is a 3. Rocket and Groot is a 3/5. Groot is a 3/7, which is great. I feel like you can play these two on turn 3. The problem with Rocket Raccoon is that he's not a good play on turn 1. So maybe you run Rocket Raccoon along with Quicksilver. So you have a different play on turn 1, where you have to predict where they play, and it's a coin flip, 33% chance, and then you hold onto your Rocket Raccoon for Star-Lord and Raccoon on turn 3, And that's tempo your opponent cannot. Because if you play these two on turn 3, that is an insane amount of points. It's a 1-5 and a 2-6. That's 11 points for 3 energy. And you snap that, you guarantee yourself points, because you can snap whenever in this mode. You can snap every turn in this mode, and your opponent is not going to leave. Because if you leave, nothing, like you just lost. There's absolutely no reason to retreat in this mode. So retreat should probably be disabled. You play it out every time until the end. For example, I'm sure the Kazoo archetype can easily run some of those cards to replace any missing Series 5 cards. The same can be said for the Scream deck if you're missing Dr. Doom, 2099, and want to replace the trio he forms with Sandman and Dr. Doom. So basically what they're saying here, and they're absolutely correct, is that you can use the Guardians as stand-ins as replacements for cards you don't own in some of these refined decks. Because of their high tempo, and because of the way the mode works, where it basically, you know where your opponent is going to play, for sure, from turn 3 and on. There's always going to be a location that's going to be contested by both of you. So that's where your opponent is going to play. And if they don't play there, you win anyway, because you're going to play your Guardian. So yeah, Ghost Spider might be strong too. Move your previous card. I was just thinking about that. Closing words. Sanctum Showdown is available for 2 weeks, February 25th to March 11th. It should feel pretty close to regular Marvel Snap, but it rewards a different playstyle. Indeed, I expect the game's end not being set to a number of turns will be quite impactful. This could lead to a lot of aggressive decks that are looking to develop tons of points early so they can grab a commanding points lead, or it could lead to the opposite effect, archetypes built to limit their opponent's ability to play on an ever-moving Sanctum. In a sense, I believe we should look at this mode with a more extremist mindset than the balanced or explosive on the later turn strategies we have grown accustomed to. One thing is for sure, I welcome this new game mode with open arms. I'm eager to play and unlock some new cards. This is a good article. I like it. I don't agree with everything they say, but most of the things they say, go give it a read, give it a view, or whatever. I don't know how they make their money. Probably from ads, but yeah. And then this is it. I'm excited for the new mode. I think it's probably going to be fun. I know I'm being a little bit of a doomist, of a negative Nancy, because I'm afraid of Mill. But hopefully I get proven wrong and we all have fun in this mode, because it is very different. Keep in mind that, as with everything these days, the mode is going to be fun and different for a couple of days at most. This is how the internet works. This is the modern era of card gaming and online gaming. People are going to figure out the meta, or the most optimal way to play, and then people are going to make videos about it, maybe including me, and everyone's just going to be playing those decks that are putting out the best stats and the best results. And then it's going to get boring after that. But that's not a fault. Remember when that happens, that it's not a fault of Second Dinner. That's not a fault of Second Dinner, and that's not a fault of the game. It's a fault of the players. You know, we are the ones that are optimizing the fun out of every single game that's coming out, and every single card game out there.